This is the chapter on federalism, discussion number 2, the Constitution's organization and formal amendments. We're going to take a closer look at what the Constitution is and how it's structured. First of all, I want to make sure you take a look at the very basic order that the Constitution is written in. Article 1 deals primarily with the legislature, Article 2 with the executive branch, Article 3 the judicial branch. Article 4 is when we start getting into some of the specifics of how states are to interact with each other and how states are to interact with the national government. Article 5 gives directions on amending the Constitution. Article 6 gives the national government ultimate responsibilities and what they're supposed to do in regards to their government power. Now, the Constitutional Convention is where this was developed and created, obviously, because they're the ones who ratified it. So how do we change that Constitution, though? Well, we don't actually go in and rip up the articles. They have stayed put. But what we have done is we have amended the Constitution. We have added amendments either to change the effect of what's in the original Constitution or to clarify what certain rights are enjoyed by the citizens or to establish a more permanent law. Okay, so how do we amend the Constitution? Well, the first step is that on a national level, a two-thirds vote is required in order to propose an amendment. Now, that two-thirds vote can either be in the House of Representatives and in the Senate. Both of them each have to have two-thirds. Or there can be a national convention by which two-thirds of the states. Now, the National Convention idea is what created the possibility for the Constitution itself. Pretty much every other constitutional amendment has been officially proposed by Congress. Now, once Congress has proposed it, it is then up to the individual states to say yes or no. And then it is up to the states of whether they want to have their state legislature approve the amendment or to have a convention to approve the amendment. But 3/4 of all the states must ratify it. If you look on slide number 6, you see that there is a little diagram there to kind of help you understand. Now, just because Congress proposes it does not mean that the state legislatures have to propose it. And because the National Convention proposes it doesn't mean that when you have those two options exist in that step, but they don't make the next step dependent upon it. And then once the 3/4 of the states ratify it, then we officially have a new amendment to the Constitution. Now, the first 10 amendments that were passed were based on a lot of the arguments that had been presented during the ratification process. A lot of people, the Anti-Federalists, were not very happy about the idea that the United States government Constitution did not specifically write out what rights were guaranteed to the people. See, Madison had always had this idea in his head that the representatives of the people would protect the people. And the Anti-Federalists is like, wait a minute, the government can get out of control. Look at what the British just got done to us. And they said, we need to have listed out what the rights of the people are. Again, Madison was afraid that if a list was made, then people would say, well, if you're looking for a specific right and it's not listed, then you don't have it. Whereas the Anti-Federalists are like, let's make a list and we can always change it later. And it can be understood as a partial list. So that's where we got the Bill of Rights. Now, after the ratification process, there was upwards of 300 amendments proposed amongst all the different, well, at that point, 12 states to change the Constitution. Madison took them and boiled them down and combined them, because a lot of them said pretty much the same thing, and got them down to about 12 different amendments. And then those amendments were then put before Congress. Congress then did officially propose 10 of those amendments to the United States Constitution, and then the states then ratified them as they stood. Concludes discussion number 2, the Constitution's organization and formal amendments, from the Federalism chapter, which is chapters 3 and 4.